Actor Jonah Hill has been facing a lot of pushback for what are being described as misogynistic messages and controlling behavior after his ex-girlfriend, surf instructor Sarah Brady.
And this is why I say that white people shouldn't date.
He's unbothered.
What's up, everybody? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, white people, I have maintained for a long time that you guys really don't know how to have a good, healthy, toxic relationship. You guys always want to call the police on each other. You guys want to talk about shit years later. The people of color would be like, why you always got to bring up old shit? Here's the long and the short of it. You guys can watch all the other channels because I'm a day late putting this out. Sue me, all right? I was waiting for everything to go through the way that it was going to go through, and I'm glad I sat on what I wanted to say, because it turned out that I would have just been right anyway. Because if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, Jonah Hill sent some text messages to this chick, Sarah Brady, that he was dating. She's a professional surfer. Some of what he asked for was, to me, reasonable, because he was very clear about the fact that he's looking for a wife. Now, if you're just looking for a girlfriend, a boyfriend, that's one thing. But if you're trying to tell someone, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, then I think it's okay to be 100% honest with them. And if that's slightly toxic or slightly off from what they were expecting or what they imagined, and it's too much for them, then they should just choose to move on. Because I felt like he was very clear in what he was saying. Also, where he says financial support, that too plays into it, because if she liked getting that money, so she was pretending to be all right with toxic shit because she liked the benefits that came with allowing toxic behavior, then I think that she still kind of has to hold her half of the responsibility, and it can't be a thing where she's a victim. What seems to have happened to me, Jonah Hill sent these text messages, and he was pretty well just being honest with her throughout the whole thing. Now, she may not like that honesty. There are things that he asked for that I personally wouldn't be able to commit to. Like, there was a point where he referred to a thought pic, and then one of the pictures she deleted was this picture right here, which to me, that's not a thought pic at all. I can see there's a little bit of boob or whatever, but I don't really feel like she crossed the line with that. But then also it was brought to my attention that there could be like where maybe she started putting thirst traps up or things that were more risque after they got together. But one of the things that he mentions is that he doesn't want her to be doing like bikini modeling, which she surfs. I don't know what she's ranked. Nobody includes that, so it must not be too great. Anyway, I think she should have drawn a line right there and just been like, hey, all the way that's off the table. I am a professional surfer. I am going to be photographed in a swimsuit. That should be a deal breaker on her part to begin with. So that's also part of why I think she was kind of feeding into his toxic, because she knows if she's trying to have any type of career outside of him, then she has to do everything that she needs to do, which sponsorships and modeling, everybody knows, is an actual thing. But he's saying, I want you to be wifey. So I don't want wifey out there in a bikini. I have plenty of money for both of us if that's really what we're doing. So the same way she could say he was being overly controlling. To me, what was toxic on her part was agreeing to that shit. Because if you know you're not agreeing it as he's saying, that has to be happening in real time. And the only person that can really talk you out of that is you. At the end of the day, you're the one that actually makes a decision whether or not you're going to continue to date this guy. So she was denying her own inner voice, trying to make it seem like he's really the one to blame, when really he's not the one to blame. He's kind of just a tool of her own toxic behavior. And she's the same for him to definitely a certain degree. So a year later, he gets with another bitch, and now they're already having kids, so it's a year and a half later or whatever, and then she decides to come out with her story. And she said it was about her mental health. No, be honest about it. You knew if you dropped it at this exact moment that would actually make the splash that you wanted to make, which you were just in the wrong when it comes down to at this point. Like, was he wrong along the way? Yeah, you could say that in certain ways, just because he was a little too restrictive, and it is a little bit unhealthy. But he's married now, so maybe the woman that he's with now is like, I'm okay with this. This is my level of control that I'll allow my man to have. So it might not even be about, you know, him being particularly chauvinistic. It was just the other girl was too on the other side of the spectrum. I noticed she had had pronouns in her bio, his ex-girlfriend, Sarah Brady. So he should have known better than to fuck with that bitch anyway. Because you know that somebody that has their pronouns in their bio is going to be the first one to use words like emotionally abusive, gaslighting. You know, the words that they love to use when it's people just showing the way a good old-fashioned relationship works. Like, you know, they consider, like, if you buy somebody flowers and stuff like that, that's considered love bombing now. Being romantic is love bombing. Guess what? There's a chance I'm gonna love bomb your ass. But this isn't about that. This is how we learn what our boundaries are in relationships and what we're okay with. So I think it's I think it's very unhealthy that she decided to bring this up, because clearly he's got a wife now and they had a kid. That's what made her make the decision to come back out with it. And she wasn't at that point in her life yet, but she probably knew that she wanted somebody smart and rich like him to eventually one day settle down with. And she probably like looked at him and thought she was kind of out of his league, because she kind of is just based on looks, and was like, I can keep this simp going for as long as I need to keep him going. And then all of a sudden, here comes this dark horse she never fucking heard about in her fucking life, and just swoops in and is actually the wifey that he was looking for. And so then he's like, all right, I'm gonna cut this bitch. There's no reason for me to continue to talk to this bitch, because I found the bitch that I'm gonna actually be with, so I better start being good to her. I've done this before. I 100% I admit I've done this, and you can call me a dog or whatever, but a lot of guys know that this is the way that it works, and I'm just giving you the for real on this. Sometimes you will be fucking around with the bitch that you think you're actually really into, that you really do like, and then something will be off in what they want or what you want, similar to the situation she had with Sarah and Jonah had. And then all of a sudden one day you meet somebody that's really your thing, and you are trailing along with the other one, still sexy talk or whatever, because you don't know if it's going to work out with this new bitch. But this new bitch is interesting to you, and maybe you're in the first little bit of talking to this new bitch, right? Then all of a sudden you just decide, okay, this person is actually the things I want. This is the real version of what I thought this other one was, that I was kind of holding on to see if it would eventually pan out. So I don't think it's completely healthy when you're holding on to the one, kind of checking that out. You should be able to be alone, ideally, if you're not with what you actually want. That's where you try to get to. But I'm talking from a person that's had a lot of experience in life. So even though I would do better now, I can put myself in that mentality and be like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that you do. So as long as I don't hear that he's not being good to the wife that he actually has, then why would I care? And also, I have a life, so even if he is, he could be hitting that bitch for all I care. To tell you the truth, that's between a man and a woman. Okay, I'm playing, but you guys, you know how you get, all right? Oh, and also, I forgot to say, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to help me on the algorithm, but you don't know what to comment, just put a knife, because they're definitely going to come for my neck on this one. But anyway, I'm just tired of listening to these people talk about it like they've never been in a fucking toxic relationship before. And as far as the levels of toxic relationship, this would not be a toxic relationship at all, in my opinion. Toxic relationships really are restraining orders. Somebody might get slapped. Some shit might get broken. Somebody may not remember that the breakup even happened. Somebody might let air out of somebody's tires. Somebody might slash somebody's tires. Somebody might key somebody's car. Somebody might get in a bar fight. Somebody might kick in somebody's door. Somebody might get way drunker than they should and just make a fool of themselves. Somebody might, I ran out of shit people might do, but fill it in with your own fucked up toxic story, because if you've lived any kind of life at all, you know this story is a non-story. But there is a story right now that Jonah Hill supposedly kissed this girl when he was like 20-something or maybe 30-something, and she was like 16. I was reading that, and that seems like the thing that Jonah Hill should worry about, because the other thing, it's just relationship shit. And this is old Jonah Hill, you know, back when he would look like somebody's Aunt Debbie. He was 24 and she was 16, and when it was a Zoe 101 actress, Alexa Nikolas. So we're going to have to see if anything comes of that. But that's the real story if that is in fact true. And I do say if that is in fact true, and it's alleged, not only because legally that's something you have to say, but also because we never know. We're living in the age of clout right now. So even though I would like to just take everything at face value and be like a victim is always a victim and a perpetrator is always a perpetrator, we've seen that that's not always the case. But, you know, she says that she got lured by him like to go get a cigarette, which she was 16 at the time. What were you doing smoking, young lady? All right. But I'm being half serious at the same time because she comes to us like, you know, oh, I was just a young girl doing some smoking is what you were doing, young lady. And we're going to talk about that later on. I was smoking at 13, so we're not going to talk about that. You're fine. Get your cigarettes. I ended up in some sketchy situations over cigarettes too, though. It's when I learned to always have my own pack. And you were already acting on Zoe 101, but I heard Disney does have a cap, so you might not have been getting paid shit. You needed the cigarette. I get it. Either way, you could have just been partying drunk because you said they were plying you with alcohol. You know, she said that she had been plied with alcohol. Well, they had, you know, the older guys were buying alcohol for him. Jonah was one of the older guys. And then she asked him for a cigarette. He lured her outside to get the cigarette. Then she went outside with him and he tried to smooch her. Well, he put his tongue down her mouth. And I say tried to smooch her because that is smooching somebody. But she didn't smooch him back. You know what I mean? Like that's a bad story. If that is in fact true, she's 31 now and that's what she's saying. So we'll have to see if that actually shakes out to be exactly what it is. But as far as the relationship one, it really was just a thing. So then all of a sudden he decides that he does want to move on with this chick. And maybe now, a year and a half later or whatever it's been since they actually broke up, she realizes that now she would like to be in that position. That would be perfect for her. Because, you know, you only got a couple years in surfing. And then now he's happily married, or that's the way it at least looks, or that's what they're both willing to say right now. Nobody's blinking their eyes like they're being held hostage. Then we just have to take that at face value because that's what they're both saying. And they just found each other and they found the right level of toxicity from the other person. And she was hoping to get back in at that toxicity because she could really deal with it if she hadn't had stars in her eyes still at the same time. But now she's on her way to being a lawyer and she's realizing how drab and boring that life is going to be and how that's going to eat up all her time. And when you're a lawyer, you really have to dedicate your life to your career. So now she knows she's in for a long, boring life if she doesn't find a man right away that's going to be able to take care of her the way that she thought Jonah Hill was going to be able to take care of her, and she could be the housewife that his wife is now. And so if you ask me, that's why I say she's kind of just being a hater. So I guess my point is, no matter who you are or what it is, you just have to find a motherfucker that matches your toxicity and be happy with that. And then a year and a half later, you can't be crying because you chose not to let Jonah Hill nut inside of you. Or maybe you were on birth control. I don't know what you bitches are doing. All I know is you ain't pregnant by Jonah Hill. Instead, you're complaining about not being pregnant, which I don't even live in a world where I could understand wanting Jonah Hill to fuck me in the first place, let alone make me pregnant. Can we be honest about that for a second? This bitch deserved a goddamn Oscar for even putting that on and making that seem real. You know what? I'm wrong about all of this. I have misjudged her. She is a great writer of fiction and she deserves to go down with J.K. Rowling. And I don't care about your opinions on J.K. Rowling. You want to call her transphobe. I'm going to do a video on her too. But yeah, so that's it. There's no crying in baseball. That's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, you weren't right for him at the right time. He wasn't right for you at the right time. Now you missed the boat. Stop being mad at the other bitch and stop trying to ruin his fucking life. Grow up. Anyway, I'm done talking. You guys have been absolutely lovely. It's been a real slice, dolls. I'll probably sit in and watch this one. So we'll see who watches till the end, and you guys can give me a signal. What could the signal be? Oh, put the tooth, because I went to the dentist, and if you know, technically, I'm toothless in Seattle. I don't live in Seattle. Anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comments. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.